Hello everyone and welcome to our presentation about types of warehouse layouts. We hope you will enjoy your time and learn something new. So today we will talk about the meaning of warehouse and the importance of its layout, the framework for creating a warehouse with its 14 steps. Then we will move towards the basic layout with its parts and their functions. And then we will talk about examples of the warehouse, where we've chosen 4, in our opinion, most commonly used warehouse types, such as large-scale warehouse with an example of a drugstore, cross-dock layout, just-in-time pick warehouse with an example of a furniture parts, and ABC pick area. So what is the main purpose of the warehouse and why it is so important for businesses? There is a need in a storage place within all the stages of product flow, starting from the actual assembly and finishing on the shelf of the shop. Warehouse is a place where a company is storing its materials along the supply chain. The major purposes of warehouses are to receive goods, place the goods, and provide their further transaction towards the customer. Warehouse layout is a very important element of a supply chain, since the development of storage system involves finding the optimal placement of the goods in the stock and a method of rational management. On top of that, a design of a storage place is utterly important because a lot of money is tied up there and it determines the long-term performance of all the operations. There are many ways of classification of the warehouses. For example, depending on the height of the building, in some the shelves are not higher than a human, in others higher than 24 meters, depending on the coverage, whether it is an open warehouse or not. According to the size of the building, according to the number of customers for single-type products or multiple-type products, depending on the need in special atmospheric conditions, about which we will talk a bit later, depending on the level of automation, depending on the assortment range, warehouses with special, mixed, or universal products, depending on the physical location of the warehouse. These are just general specifications. Of course, there are more because each business needs a warehouse which is specifically answering the requirements of the industry.
Okay, there are 14 steps of the framework. The first step is specify the purpose and the mission of the warehouse. The type of the warehouse, whether it is a distribution center, a manufacturing warehouse, or a public warehouse, should be specified to provide designer with an initial conception of the accepted levels of operation and the requirements of the design. The objectives of the warehouse and their priority, whether it will serve the global market and whether it would perform value-added service, may also be addressed in this step since they impact the subsequent step of the design. The second step is forecasting and analysis of demand. This step is required for setting the capacity of the warehouse and preparing information which would be used in subsequent steps in determining inventory levels, equipment, and assignment of items storage location. It includes estimating and identifying the high and low demand item, percentage of items which could be ordered in full and partial loads, variation in the demand, the volume of the orders. The third step is establishing operating policy. Operations in a warehouse have to be investigated since they impact the design of the layout. One operational issue that has to be addressed early in the design is determining whether to operate the warehouse as several small independent warehouses. It should be pointed out that several of the decisions made in this step rely on information from the previous step on forecasting and analysis of demand. The fourth step is determining inventory levels. Determining inventory levels for the various items stored in a warehouse is also an operational decision that impacts its size and helps in estimating space requirements. Inventory decisions rely on forecasting and analysis of demand. The fifth step is class formation. This step would be performed if a decision is made earlier to use classes. Using classes helps reduce picking time and distance. The sixth step is departmentalization and general layout. A warehouse consists of several departments or areas that will be identified and arranged in this step using information from the first and third step of the framework. The main departments of a warehouse correspond to its major functions such as receiving, storage, packing, sortation, and shipping. The seventh step is storage partition. Storage is the major department in a warehouse. It is usually partitioned into reserve and packing area to facilitate operations, reduce movement, and account for factors such as demand and the size and type of the unit loads. The item allocated to each area and their quantity could be determined using various procedures. The eighth step is design of material handling, storage, and sortation system. The design of material handling, sortation, and storage system is a major activity in its own right. However, it should be accounted for in the design of warehouse layout due to its interrelation with aisles, space requirements, utilization of the cube, storage assignment, and movement in the warehouse. The next step is design of aisles. Determining the number of aisles, their location, orientation, length, and width is an important step in designing a warehouse layout due to its impact on space needs, operations, material handling, and storage assignments. The aisles in a warehouse do not have to be identical or laid out in the same manners, but could have different orientation. Main aisles crossed by other aisles could also be used to improve routing facility, accessibility, and picking time and distance in a warehouse. The 10th step is determine space requirements. An estimate of space needs for a warehouse is made at this step. The cost of land, overhead, and sometimes scarcity of land necessitate making such an estimate carefully. A wrong estimate of space needs could lead to crowded conditions on the one hand or wasted space on the other hand. The 11th step is determine the number and the location of input and output points. The number of location of input and output points impacts throughput, packing distance, and the time, the assignment of the item to storage, and the congestion. I&O points are needed for department, sortation system, aisles, and required such as conveyors. The 12th step is determine the number and the location of the docks. Having several docks in the warehouse is necessary in order to accommodate various transportation modes, reduce delays, and provide routing facility in it. The location of docks should be also ensure balanced distribution of movements within and outside the warehouse. The 13th step is arrangement of storage. The assignment of the item to storage location is an important step in the design of a warehouse due to its impact on movement time and cost, throughput, productivity of pickers, and congestion. The assignment decision rely on information from previous step concerned with analysis of the demand, class formation, departmentalization, storage partition, and the design of the storage system. The final step of the framework is zone formation. Zone formation involves partitioning the picking area or part of it into zones where a picker picks only from an assigned zone. It is an example of modularity that could help improve picking and the facility of operations. The number, size, and the composition of the zones are variables that should be carefully determined in order to avoid increasing movement and picking time. So there's are the 14 steps of the framework.
Generally, there are two types of warehouses: distribution centers and logistics centers. The first one is a place of goods storage on its way to the end customer, while the last one keeps a wider range of products and can be placed at different points along the supply chain. There are no specific warehouse layouts. It all depends on the nature of a business and the location of warehouse. However, there are several basic elements which any warehouse will have. First of all, receiving zone, where the goods are delivered from a manufacturer and where they are checked and sorted. Secondly, storing zone, where the goods are kept and stored. Next one, dispatch zone, where the goods are packed for further shipment to the customer. Next one, transportation system of warehouse, which usually represented by all forklifts. Information system, which is controlling the location of every product. There is one more part which is not illustrated in this picture, which is the zone for maintaining special conditions, such as air humidity, pressure, temperature. For some specific industries, this part is crucial. On the picture, you can see the layout type of a large-scale drug warehouse. It had very narrow aisle pallet storage and vertical shelves, mainly used for small items. This warehouse is designed to hold as much product as possible in an area where space is very expensive. The high price of a storage place can be explained the need for special atmospheric conditions mentioned to you earlier. In the pharmacy business, it is one of the most important elements in the warehouse, which obviously requires huge investments. This type is quite simple and straightforward. Pre-picked and wrapped pallets come from the local suppliers, come in the night before, and then shipped to the chain stores in their own trucks the next day. The main function of this warehouse type is simplification of supply chain.
Then we have ABC layout. This type represents a Pareto's law. Simply put, the A storage pick zone is allocated to the fast-moving products. These products are small in number and have a large inventory quantity. Then the B storage pick zone is allocated to medium-moving products with a medium amount of inventory. Then you can see the C storage pick zone is allocated to slow-moving products. These are large in number and have a small inventory quantity per item. In the diagram below, A moving items are located closer to the shipping area to decrease the amount of travel distance from pick to ship. Then we can talk about the JIT layout, which means just-in-time layout. The best way to explain this layout type is using an example of furniture business. Large-scale, just-in-time furniture parts warehouse is usually located near the main office, furniture assembly operation. Product families were placed together by color in the joint, as you can see in the picture, for speed of picking. There were trunk load deliveries between the buildings every 2 hours or so over a 2-shift operation.
That was all for today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation, and here's the task for those who are still awake and watching this video. Find in the picture the name of one of our presenters, write it in the comment and get a present after that. Feel free to put your thumbs up and share this video with your friends.
Thank you.